14, episode 14. Perry. What are you eating? Is that Chef fucking Perry Punch? All right. Little Chef Boyardee. Oh, it sounds super healthy. Okay. Okay.
My microphone real quick. Make sure we're locked in on the right one. What's up, boys?
Up, what up?
Happy New Year, Happy New Year.
So 14, Perry Punch, MMA Homie Podcast. DJ MTK, Jacob. We're back.
That's
Talking
right.
shit. Talking shit behind the scenes.
Can
Throw
you
a
hear me?
topic out there. I'll catch it.
All right, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, throw a topic out there, you'll catch it. I mean, shit. This one doesn't have to even go too long. So I guess we could just start off with Nick Diaz. Did you see that video?
The one, okay, I saw a few videos. So which one are you talking about?
He finally got control of his
In
social
rehab?
media. Yeah, it seems like he's in rehab, but he says he's just at a retreat. And he
Okay.
said he's going to go train jiu-jitsu. So, like, I don't know how much, like, freedom you have to do that if you're in rehab. So I don't know if he's at, like, some type of, like, health retreat where it's not, like, rehab, or if he's in a real rehab. But he's in Mexico, I think, trying to get healthy. And he's got his social media back. So he finally posted a real video of himself.
Okay.
And he didn't really say, like, I'm doing good or better or anything like that. He just said, like, this is where I'm at in Mexico and, like, view from my hotel room. And then I'm going to go get some jiu-jitsu training in here later on today.
I mean,
But
that's the first step, right? I mean, I'm going right now a month without drinking. So, I mean, sometimes you just got to take a step back, right?
yeah,
What are you, if a retreat or health center, whatever they're one or the two.
I think get away from, like, that group of people you might be surrounded with.
Right. You
Yeah.
got to take a step back. Just take a step back, and so I was glad to see. Just by admitting you're at a retreat, that's kind of almost like step one, right?
Yeah, a
Like
little bit.
like even for me to say, hey, I'm going on a month sober. I wanted, how a lot of times you roll into the new year like, oh, I'm a sober up now. I know you're not a big drinker,
Yeah, I'm a weed smoking kind
so
of
but see,
guy.
I'm a drinker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I can relate in the fact of like I wanted to set the stage before the New Year's and roll into the New Year's saying, hey, I'm a month now sober. So I think
Get
that
that momentum.
get the momentum a little bit, get your mind cleared a little bit. When did you post that? Like 2 months ago?
Well, yeah, that one video of him, like, looking kind of, like, strung out on drugs.
So he
And
probably
then,
might be a month sober right now. You know what I mean? Like give
yeah,
or take, right? Give or
yeah.
take. So that's good to see that, at least it's not a video of him partying in Vegas.
Right. And the other thing I saw, like, in between all this, in between when I posted it and when I posted the new update, in between that, I saw, like, O'Malley went on Jake Shields' podcast, who's a close friend of Nick's. And then
Okay.
Sean asked him, but Jake didn't want to talk about it. But he said, like, I don't want to say anything, but me and his brother Nate are working on getting him help. And then, like, now, about 2 or 3 weeks later, Nick looks like he's in better condition. So it looks like Nick took some help from his brother. I think his brother was probably like, yo, like, what do you want from me? Like, you name what you want, and, like, I'll do it. I'll pay for it. And I feel like Nick probably was like, you know what? Like, send me to this retreat. Let me get away from these guys. And maybe not do, like, a full rehab because, people don't want to admit that, too, sometimes. So maybe he just went to a retreat and he's, like, relaxing, kind of, like, living good at the moment. And I think Nate is facilitating it.
Yeah, help clear your mind in any way, in any way possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Mental
Now,
health.
yeah, and so also, I guess we could talk about kind of like what we were just talking about because I feel like it's fresh in our minds, so we might as well just continue talking about it. Themba Gorimbo.
Okay.
Take the lead on this one.
Yeah, all I was saying was that, I was trying to understand the hate barometer, I guess you could say, of like backlash I see him getting. And for me, now after thinking and talking about it, I felt like it stemmed from the Drickus comment. And I felt like there's a portion of people that I believe it started when Themba took the side of like Izzy and Kamar Usman and who else was it? There was like a handful of other African fighters. And Dricus basically said, oh, I'm the only one. And then Dricus clapped back and he said something about Themba. And then you start hearing these other stories about people basically, throwing shade at Themba, which I couldn't understand. I still don't. To me, it just seems like hate, honestly.
Yeah. So also kind of like from what I had noticed in the headlines over the last couple weeks, and to what you're saying right now, right? Dreykus just threw a shot at Themba, pretty hefty one, and this isn't the first one. He has some priors with Themba, as far as Themba getting mad at him for saying he's the real African king or something like that, and so they've had some back and forth there. So we don't know how genuine Dreykus is being, right? That's kind of what you're trying to say.
Well, but and if you were to think about the real history between white Africans and black Africans, I mean, just like within the United States, there's a lot of unrest through history of centuries of oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know what apartheid is in Africa, it's the same thing as almost as slavery, So there's two different worlds happening in Africa of two different landscapes, the oppressed and the people that are on top.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no different. I mean, it's no different there. So Themba probably has a whole different perspective than what Dreykus has.
Yeah, because South Africa seems to be, and I don't know much at all, so all I can really say is South Africa seems to be more of a city, right? More of a regular kind of like country.
Well,
And Zimbabwe is obviously like, Themba comes from living in like huts and shit like that. Like no running water, no electricity. And they're both from Africa.
But when you add apartheid to it, apartheid is basically like, hey, it's illegal to even be in the presence of white people. Like,
see, I don't know all that, but I think there might be something, right? Because obviously South Africa, there's got most of the predominantly white people there.
Right. And so that's why, like, and then European countries took over Africa too, their motherland, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of history there when it comes to that, a whole nother side of the conversation outside of MMA, right?
Yeah.
So those guys, like, even when Izzy stepped in the cage and he had said, like, I'm the real African here, bro. Like, this is where our family is really from. I cringed at the time, but I understood what he was trying to say.
He's saying, like, we're both African, but I made it out the gutter, and you don't get to carry that same kind of narrative. I think they're trying to say, like, you being an African champion and me being an African champion, it's not apples to apples. What I had to overcome and go through is way more than what you had to come and go through. And I think,
it's their mother. It's their mother. It's almost like here in the States or in Hawaii, bro.
Right.
Hawaii.
I see what you're saying there.
The native, that's their motherland.
When the white people came to kind of take over Hawaii, there's always been something with that too.
Right. Like,
yeah.
There's an underlying layer of that there.
So they're already chomping at the bit.
So that's when Izzy was like, hey, bro, I'm the real African. You know what I mean? Like, because Europeans went and took over that.
I got you.
When apartheid happened, that basically was a separation of, like, white people and black people. Like, and so all the black people were pushed into the ghettos, and, like, they weren't even able to, like, it was illegal, bro. It was illegal to even step into the city.
It's like a white guy claiming Hawaii, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a lot of history there, right? Now, Dreykus, I get it. He's like, bro, like, I was born into this. He can't go back and change history.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But you could have a respect level. So you get all of that tied in, and then Themba clapped back after Izzy said what Izzy said, right? So I can see where Themba coming from. Like, bro, now I am African, motherfucker. Like, dog, like, I have fucking stripes in this shit.
Yeah. That was such a messy thing. Obviously, people kind of know about that already. But with how that all ties into this is that I feel like this is kind of what's been happening, right? Themba said that his family, after the fight, so fast forward with all that backstory, Themba said after his fight with Vicente, his family members celebrated his loss, right? And so a lot of people were reposting that, saying, like, poor guy, essentially. Poor guy, that's fucked up. People shouldn't be doing that, your own loved ones. And so that was the narrative for a minute, a couple days. And then Dreykus caught wind of it, right? And he said, because anybody who knows this guy would basically hate him, would celebrate his downfall, insinuating that he's a piece of crap. And so now you have people coming out of the woodwork kind of running with that narrative too, saying, like, Themba has this type of past to him or maybe he's not as good of a guy as he claims to be.
Like it's a front.
Because obviously, as far as that front goes that you just mentioned, his thing is like, you know, and let me get into it, right? Because, you know, I'm a person who can see it all the ways, and I think to some degree maybe there are truths, maybe there's not. But let me put it all on the table for you because I've been wondering it for a while. You know, the fronts are like, you know, water wells, right? Obviously, he mentioned the $5 in his bank account, and he got the big handout from The Rock, right? Genuine effort from The Rock, and it's a genuine story from Themba. You know, not only did he have $5 in his bank account, but he was living out of the gym, right? Mm-hmm. With that all said, let me give you another side to it. He was living out of the gym, but was he homeless? No, he wasn't homeless. He chose to come to America to train, right? And he had a home in like Africa he could like live in, where he said he had a bed and like his own house and stuff, but he chose to be there. And I think The Rock might have thought he's just like a homeless guy, right? Who doesn't have a home in Africa and a good life to go back to. He did, and Themba told me that in our interview. That's why I'm telling you that. But, you know, I think people see those things and they're like, I think some people are like, he's not being fully honest. And that's not for me to judge, but I do think that's where it's coming from. And like, what do you think about that?
I think that even what Themba said, he's like talking about people can see success, even family members, bro. I've had my own family do shit like that, bro. I can't control fucking ghetto ass family. Mm-hmm. I can't control that what they think or what they do, or if I'm having a little bit more success and they're hating because now he thinks he's better than us. Mm-hmm. When Themba is still grinding, trying to make it. Themba's not a millionaire.
Correct, and I think he said that, right?
Yeah, and so like in my eyes, it's like he's still cutting his teeth to try to be successful, bro. I how much do you think he made off the Vicente fight? 50 grand?
I mean,
give or take,
probably less, to be honest.
Okay, so we're not talking about he's
because he's not making six figures, you know. If he
right.
Yeah.
So like, if this would be a whole different conversation. Like, no, bro, he made fucking $1 million last year, dog. Mm-hmm. Like maybe there's a little bit more weight to what he's saying. No, dude, he's still grinding it out, living probably paycheck to paycheck, trying to get better at his craft, and then he had a loss. So, especially when you're down, people really want to jump on you, especially the haters. See, I told you.
So I think there's two narratives here. I think we're saying two separate narratives, and so let me say it so I can get your thoughts on it. Your narrative is like kind of along the lines of like, once you have a perceived success because he hasn't reached it yet, people automatically start to come after you, or things change.
He's in the UFC. He's famous. He's fucking, The Rock knows him.
Right. And so when you don't give people what they want, right, they're happy when you fail because you didn't give them anything. Yeah. So they're rooting on your downfall. I completely agree. I'm also saying there's another side to it where he seems to have enemies who think he's a finesser. By putting out these sob stories.
But are they really sob stories, bro? Like,
they're true. Now, to me, I'm going to take him at his word, right? But I think a lot of people are calling him a finesser by assuming that he's because you remember when he came on at the press conference and he said he was crying and he said, "My coach has cancer."
I don't remember that one.
He had another moment like that too, where he's like crying, saying, "My coach has cancer." And I think people again were like, "This, it's always something with this guy." Even when I did the interview with Themba, that's what I noticed is like there's a lot of these comments that pop up. They're somewhat frequent, but I'll get like one or two in every like other post where they say like finesser, like, oh, the finesser himself. And so I think that's where it's coming from, is he has these stories. And he's being vocal about his truth, and people think he's looking for a handout. And so when he fails, they're like, "Get this guy out of here. He's like a asker."
I mean, okay, I can see that point of view, and I'm more cut from the cloth of like, even when I was hearing a couple of his stories, and I've learned some of the stories you were telling me too before, before the Vicente fight, and. The story they were talking about when he went to he was working in the diamond field. He was 16 with his cousin, and his cousin snitched on him. Mm-hmm. And he got beat up, and he got fucking attacked by all the dogs and shit. Almost lost his life.
Yeah.
Like the dude's been through some shit, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not something that we can't even put into perspective. And talking about like, you know, knowing somebody that fucking it's a doggy dog world where you know, and I don't know, but all I'm saying is he's seen some shit, dog. You know, he's been through some shit and he's just trying to make it out. And through this journey, other things have come up. So maybe he wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit more than others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe he's willing to like open up on the discussion. And you know, The Rock felt bad for him and he heard his story. That happens all the time. And now if he would have, let's say he had some handouts, right? Let's say The Rock, for example, and he used that money to go to the strip club and he wasted all of it. I'll be like, oh, dog, nah, that's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with the things when people give them to you? Are you still trying to help other people out?
Mm-hmm.
Are you still trying to, you know, are you still trying to rise? Are you still putting in the effort?
What he did is he brought his family to the U.S. from Zimbabwe. Pretty noble effort, if you ask me.
Dude, fuck yeah. And then he's talking about like one of the wells he did for like one of the little tribes and shit.
Yeah, he's done those.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he even said, he's like, people act like I can go and do 1,000 times more. I'm just trying to do with what little I have.
Mm-hmm.
Normal people don't do that. Normal people, even when they have something, still won't do something.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. And he's always kind of taken the effort to put his village on the map, if you will. The other thing I would say is that, you know, there's no way that by sharing the story about being broke and living out of the gym, like, let me just put this out there because I think people don't really like take the time sometimes. By sharing that story, there's no way he knew that. Oh, and also by saying that he's a fan of The Rock, there's no way that he knew that by sharing a story that he's broke, living out of the gym, and that he's a fan of The Rock, that The Rock was going to buy him a fucking house. I think people, you know, once The Rock got him a house, there was some jealousy or whatever you want to call it involved, and they're like, oh, fuck this guy, you know what I mean? He got a house, you know, sob story. But to be honest, like, I think prior to The Rock giving him a house, what Themba's goal was to motivate people. To say, like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm in the UFC. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm willing to sacrifice for the greater good. And I think The Rock was like, that's dope. I think that's dope. Let me help you out. Give you some money. You know, give you a little roof over your head so you can train a little bit better.
A little bit of like, okay, here's a little boost.
Right, because you're obviously roughing it.
Right, it's not gonna like get you to the top, but here's just a little boost. You know what I mean? And like, and hopefully Themba. Let's say Themba does one day become ranked and gets into the position where like, oh man, this dude's making a run for it, man. He just made $250,000. That he gets to a point where he sounds like he's already is trying to help people out, right? Mm-hmm. I just think, bro, honestly, people love to hate.
Yeah,
that's what I honestly think. Down deep, that's how I really feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he has a different reputation too. Like, this is the last thing maybe I'll say about it is that I think maybe as far as some of the hate, I think it's coming from Africa. I think he has a different reputation in Africa. And I think to some degree when people see his reputation here, I think it's different. Because I think I also heard he owned a gym and stuff like that in Africa. I think he comes from more of a leadership perspective over there. And then when they see his story here, I think they're like, what the fuck's going on? You know, like, you're like a... Maybe they think he's a rich guy already. I don't know. But I think there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect.
I bet you they do. And he said it too in the... it was with Ryan Clark in the Pivot. He even told the Pivot, he was like, dude, I'm grateful that you even have me on after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, not a lot of people will interview after you lose, you know? And he said that, like, you know, people are reaching out to me, like my cousins and family members, thinking I'm a millionaire, but I just don't have that much money that people think I have.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so I'll go check it out. But
no, it was a good one.
Yeah, that just sparked one other thought though, as far as like you know, and that's the thing too, right? See, this is what it is, I think, and it repeats, but you know, you can't control how people react to your story, right? And I think this is another example of like, people are like, how the fuck is he getting on the Pivot? You haven't done shit. It's because of all your stories. And that's not my opinion. I'm just giving that devil's advocate. I think people are getting like, it's like, because of the notoriety from The Rock, from the Pivot, they like can't like fathom it in their head, and they think like he's manifesting it by telling all these sob stories. I don't know. I think that's there's something to that.
If he wouldn't have won the X amount of fights that he did in the UFC to get into the UFC, before the Vicente Luque fight, he was what? Was he 2-0, 3-0?
He was like, he lost his first fight, and I think he won his next 2 to 3. Okay. So he might have been like 3-1, 2-1.
And then he faced an opponent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he got knocked back down to reality. So it's not like he's living some glorified story.
No, and I think that's why people, to some degree, are like, how the fuck you on the pivot?
Yeah, see, but to me, that's another hater. Like,
they're just hating.
Yeah, why would you not praise him? Like, bro, good for you, man. You got on the pivot after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm cut differently though, bro. Like, I don't want to hate on motherfuckers. I want to see motherfuckers rise though, too.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I am. You know what I mean? Like, now if it's some like shady motherfucker always getting like like Kobe, then maybe I might have a different opinion.
Yeah, I think to even say it in a simpler term, real quick. I think, and maybe this is just how people perceive things, and you can't control how they feel. I think maybe by getting places based off of your story and not off the work you put in, I think maybe fans have a different reaction to it, because I think Themba's getting places based off what he's saying, and I think maybe they feel like you haven't proved it yet, and I think maybe that has something to do with it. I don't think that at all,
After almost getting killed by 3 fucking German shepherds, my hat's off to that motherfucker, dog.
Yeah. No, for a fact. Butt naked, too, by the way. He was like butt fucking naked.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. And his cousin snitched on him and shit.
Yeah.
And fucking just to try to, how to get caught by himself.
Mm-hmm.
At 16?
Crazy. He's a different kind of guy. I've always thought that, like, he just has a good way of like kind of creating headlines.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say this too. Not even. Let's just say the casual UFC fan, the guy that always watches the main event with his wife and his friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the diehards that fucking watch every single one. They probably don't even know who Themba is still, though, bro.
Correct.
A portion of them may have slipped in because of the Rock story and because of like people like the pivot. But big picture, like Buckley, for example, been able to break out and get more into the headlines. More people are like, oh, you hear about this Joaquin Buckley guy? Oh, I just saw him beat up, Colby.
Now, if you were to give a devil's advocate even on that, right? Because Joaquin's got some, struggles he battles with too, as far as like his grandma and stuff. I think like even if Joaquin wasn't winning as much as he is, and he was getting around places because of like, his sad story to some degree, I feel like fans might be taking it the same way. I feel like they might be commenting like, you don't deserve to be here. I think it just comes with the game. You got to accept it. You got to not take it to heart. You got to know who you are at the end of the day. You got to
roll with it.
Yeah, because you can't do anything about their judgments. And, sometimes that just happens. Fans are kind of tough, So I think that was worth saying as far as like, just keep winning. And I think you're eventually will turn fans over.
Think about this, bro. Think about, like, you remember Aaron Hernandez?
Yeah.
Dude, his mom was so ghetto, dog. Like, you can't pick your parents, bro.
You
know what I mean? Like, his family was so ghetto, dog. Like, he was almost destined for failure. Think about this. Like, I always trip out on the Aaron Hernandez story. He did the fucking most fucked up shit, dude.
I watched the Netflix documentary.
His mom was already had someone in his house the week after his dad died. And it was the his cousin's ex-boyfriend. How ghetto is that, dog?
Damn, that's pretty
Your
ghetto.
mom.
And a cousin means like a son of like,
His cousins, a man ended up, all of a sudden he wakes up and he see his cousin's ex-boyfriend. Like, what the fuck you doing in the house? Dad just died.
Yeah, it's fucked
up.
up.
Your family is in shit, bro. Like, dog, like some people, dude, like, and that goes back to like, haters and family. His mom always used to like try to like use shit against him. Like, and he would be like, dude, mom, you know what the fuck you put me through?
Yeah. Yeah, for a fact. Gotta look out for when our numbers come up. You know what I'm saying?
All right, next.
uh, you want to preview UFC 101? Let me just look and see if there's any good fights.
The only fight I'll watch is the Kopilov Curtis Blades.
Yeah, there's not much going on, to be honest.
And you know
with
what?
That.
And it's funny because it's like, I don't even think Mackenzie's that cute.
Nah, dude, these MMA fans are thirsty as fuck. You know what annoys me is there's so much like weird hype. You know who else? You know who else gets a lot of fake hype?
Who?
We'll see how you feel about it because you do like a Heina, I feel like. But Tracy Cortez, I don't think she's as fine as people make her out to be. Like, I wouldn't fucking walk up to her at a bar.
She is cute though. I mean, I wouldn't say like she has like a natural glow to her.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
to each his own.
Yeah, okay, to each his own.
Because
but,
it
like,
also comes down to preference. She's not really my type to begin with.
I mean, she got some booty.
She got a booty. You know, I like a pretty girl though, like more, you know. And I think
Who's the finest UFC girl you know that you could think?
I mean,
of?
to be honest with you, I'd rather like I think Amanda is better looking. You know what I mean?
And who?
Amanda Ribas is better looking than Mackenzie.
Okay, who Mackenzie's fighting?
Yeah, I think they got it flipped.
I would say she's a little.
She's pretty.
She's a little bit, yeah, I would say she's a little bit. She's like that goes to me like a natural glow. She has more of a natural glow to me.
Yeah.
Like, she don't need a lot of makeup.
I feel like people get mad at me for this, but I think I could just say it. Mackenzie's got a little bit of like a horse face, so that's why like it's kind of funny that people find her like super attractive because I know a lot of guys would make fun of that.
It's the booty.
It's the booty, the little body.
Yeah, it's the booty.
And same with Tracy, it's the fucking booty.
But I mean, if we were to dissect all their faces, I mean, Tracy Cortez, she's not ugly.
Honestly, like if you can't rate her a 6, if you can't rate her a 7, right? I'd give her a 6. She ain't making the 8.
I'd give her, but she has like a like almost like a Janita face, like an Asian face. But she's Chicana.
Yeah, I actually saw something where they said like the Asian eyes are like more of the attractive, like one of the most attractive. So if she's got like some of that quality, but yeah, I mean, I like a prettier girl. I'm trying to think of one other one in the UFC.
I know. Female fighters your favorite shit in the UFC. Though.
I know, right? Okay, she's not in the UFC, but like a Dakota, like she's a pretty good looking girl, feminine.
Can't even think of Dakota is.
She's from the PFL. She's the one that everybody hypes up.
She's alright.
But you know, like then you throw in like a Nina, and I'm like, she's not that fine at all. But I know a lot of guys like, yeah, they be thirsting over her and her ass too. It's like, dude, any girl who's got like big butt cheeks, you're down for. Like, it's got to be nice. You got to be like, you know, fit, like tight skin. Like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
there's millions of girls out there we're gonna be thirsting over like Nina and Tracy Cortez.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just the MMA community in general.
It's the MMA community. It is what it is, but
yeah, no, there's a lot of nerds in the community.
Yeah, for a fact. You ever see the media? I mean, we did one of those media shows.
It's funny because it's almost like if you were to take them to a bar, like with you, it'd be like, all right, dog, come on, let's go hang out. Like, come on, let's go talk to some bitches real quick.
Yeah, for a fact. Big yo, come on, like you ain't never done this before.
See, I can't help myself. I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
What's up?
I mean, I don't know. It is funny to me though. I've always been like, how is MMA media so like nerdy? They all look like anime guys, like who attend like Comic-Cons and shit.
Yeah, there's a portion of that. There's a portion of that.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say about the fight. I mean,
yeah, the only Kopilov versus Curtis.
Yeah.
Curtis. That's the only one I'm really like. A lot of the other ones, bro, are just like position fighters. They're trying to get ranked, trying to build a name for themselves. That's really what the card is.
So because yeah, and because of that, why don't we just talk about a broader topic? And we might have talked about it before, but let's progress the narrative about it, which is lack of star power in the UFC. So beginning of 2025, let's say, how can a fighter break out in 2025 and become a star? Because none of them are really doing it. And I feel like it's because a lot of them refuse to play the game, even though it's clear what you need to do. The blueprint is all over the place. You know what I mean? From star after star, look at how they got their name built up. It's all out there. But some guys just think still to this day that they can just win fights and become a star and people are going to watch, even a Bo Nickel. So how can you become a big star in 2025 and break out and build your name? I'll let you lead it off if you'd like.
I agree with you, and I like the way you view it, because you're right. There is a formula, and hopefully we can clip this. And a lot of it though does take some personality and some swag and charisma.
For a fact,
you mix that in and try to play the game as you create. Like Marab sometimes makes me cringe, but he gets it though. As stupid as it is, he's building content, he's building his fan base, and he's winning. All of it, and you got to back it up with the wins.
Mm-hmm.
Joaquin Buckley, Charles Energy Johnson, Carlos Pratis. I was going back and I was looking at some of the Carlos Pratis shit.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos Pratis his charisma oozes out of him. He drinking and smoking and shit like outside the ring, and that builds his personality. But you got to have the wins, and I'm hoping a couple guys that we see, the Joe Alvarez and the Ripovics this year, if they can continue how they're winning and dominating, and they get 3 wins this year under their belt, and they're able to take a little bit of what you're saying and add it into the formula, those could be 2 guys that could be ranked fighters that are young, that get into the lightweight division and that start tearing shit up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Give Carlos Pratis a couple more wins and give him a couple more swigs of the Henny and smoking a blunt.
Mm-hmm.
See how big his name starts rising even more.
Right. And not only that, but let's even go on a more even, like, because not everybody can smoke a blunt, right, or drink. So let's even go on something where all these guys can do it, which is, what has Carlos done? What has Joaquin done? 2 of the biggest breakout fighters of the year, right? As far as even rookie of the year for Carlos. But what have they done? Confidence. Not only confidence by just talking, right? This is how simple it is. I really want to break it down for these guys. Confidence by saying, hey, I want this guy. I think I could beat him. Give me this guy this date.
All out. Yeah.
If you cannot even do that with a definitive fucking thing to say that you could smoke this guy, you know what I mean? Then you're never going to build a name for yourself. It starts there. It really starts there.
So if we were to create a blueprint call out.
Make a call out.
Hold up. Victory.
Yeah, you don't got to be a rapper. You know what I mean?
Let's get a victory. Let's do a good call out.
Right.
Have some charisma and swagger on the mic.
Right. The other thing I would say too, right, is if you can, right, if you're confident enough, do interviews. Get in with the podcast.
That's another good one, yeah.
Because I think
I agree with that.
people don't realize that, like I've said in the past, by doing one interview with me, right, you're getting like at least 24 hours of like promotional work that I've done on the back end in return for the hour you gave me. Right. The longer you give me, the longer it takes me to put out all the content we did. But like I put it all out there. I put like 10 clips out for Bilal's coach. You know what I mean? How many hours of that was that pushing his name? People at first are like, nobody knows this fucking guy. But by the end of it, you know what I mean? It's more normal now. Yeah. And so when I have him on again before Bilal's fight and shit like that, like also by me building whoever I interview's name, that makes my interview bigger. So why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
So I'm saying if you come on my show, you also get priority as far as me reposting anything you do. It doesn't even have to be from an interview. If you went and donated fucking food on Thanksgiving at a homeless shelter, I would repost it, especially because you've come on the show. Right. You know what I mean? Last thing, I did it with Pat Downey. Pat Downey, an interview's about to drop because he just came on the podcast, but he also did a cool instructional on his Instagram. I reposted it. You know what I mean? You're cool with me, I'm cool with you. So you should also hop on and do interviews and get in with a media outlet, not just MMA Junkie. Last thing about this. Not fucking your top big brands. Not MMA Junkie. Not MMA Fighting. Not fucking Ariel. You know what I mean? If you think that like by just waiting to pop onto their show that's going to do it for you, again, huge mistake. You do not just get to wait around to be propped up on their show. You have to build it up from scratch because it's not authentic, to be honest with you.
And it's almost like building your fighting resume. It's building your interview resume.
Right. So I would say if don't even necessarily have to do interviews with me, but if you're not gonna like before going on Ariel's show and stuff like that, create a personality for yourself, you know, so that when you go on Ariel's show, you can propel your personality even more. If you win 5 fights and you go on Ariel's show and you got nothing to you, nobody knows you, what are you gonna talk to Ariel about? Nothing. So I'm just putting that out there too. A lot of guys just think like, I'll make it on Ariel's show and then I'll be good. I'm going to get all these viewers, all these followers. That's not fucking true. You got nothing to talk about on there. I've seen lots of Ariel's interviews do 5K views.
Yeah.
You're doing him a disservice too, because he's having you on the show and he's not getting any clout off of it. And you're supposed to be the biggest guy he can interview this week.
Yeah. Who do you, and it's interesting now that I think about it, it's like if we were to, I would have to throw, I mean, of course, Joaquin, Renato, Moiciano.
He created his own podcast with those guys.
Yeah, and I went back, you know, I was telling you I was sick. I was just watching old UFC fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched all Carlos's fights. I watched all Joaquin's fight. I watched all Renato's fight. And I think it was UFC 300 when he almost lost to Jalen Turner. And he turned it around and he fucking got him. And I was like, dude, that 1 inch that Jalen gave you, because Jalen kind of walked away thinking he knocked him out.
Yeah.
And who knows why he did that. That one instant could have ruined his whole trajectory. But he went on the mic, he said something funny, and he goes, I want Joe to be on I'm gonna be on Joe's podcast. I was like, that's kind of smart. Because now you're forcing Joe kind of like, all right, I guess you're gonna come on who has one of the biggest podcasts in the world, right?
Right.
But just by saying it, and then he's like, oh, and go follow my podcast. Then he broke out and he did another one, and he said, what was it? Easy money. And then he had that reference like he was like seeing a turtle in a tree. Everyone's like, how do you see a turtle in a tree? He goes, exactly, you never see a turtle in a tree.
Yeah.
But you know, that's building your name, and every time he got on the mic, he had something funny and fresh to say, even though English wasn't his first language.
Correct.
You know? So that goes back to the formula.
If you're funny, that's extra points, you know, because that's not something everybody can do.
And think about Joaquin. Joaquin got a lot of criticism for calling out Conor.
Yeah.
But it was almost like a double-edged sword. I kind of, when he did it, I was like, come on, bro. Like, come on, you know? Mm-hmm. But it was such a big name to call out. Even the negative press became positive.
Yeah.
Because you knew who he was.
In hindsight, it was the best call out, because if you look back too, like, remember what they're saying, like, you should have called out Gilbert Burns. Everybody he could have called out, they wouldn't have accepted the fight against him anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was trying to build that too.
Yeah, so what am I going to do? Call somebody out who's not even going to accept it against me?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let me just fucking, what's it called? Rage bait real quick and call out McGregor.
And then as he built up his other wins, his call-outs got better and more strategic.
Once he became closer to, like, the names that are achievable, that he actually wants to call out. I think what it was is he doesn't want to call out a fucking, like, 12th ranked guy. He wants to call it a 5th ranked guy.
And I think that what Joaquin does, in the more I've watched him, the more I heard him, he's very premeditated. He is thinking 2 steps ahead, even if it's like creating skits. Like, I see him talking with the fighter behind the scenes before they turn on the phone. Like, there's Joaquin behind the scenes and there's camera Joaquin. Mm-hmm. Because he's knowing premeditated, like, hey, let's do this because we're going to get more views, bro, and we're going to build up our profile.
I don't know if you saw it, but there's a behind the scenes. I forget what it's called. ESPN does it though, and there was episode 2. It's to your point. After the weigh-ins, cameras are on, and they captured Buckley backstage, basically trying to crash Colby's interview with Megan O'Leary. Right. And they pushed him out of the way, and they're like, nah. And he walked away, and he said, come on, man, I'm trying to go viral.
Right. He gets it.
The awareness. And I've said this about Joaquin. He's been that way since his very first fight in the UFC. He's always paid attention to numbers. He's always cared about creating moments. And that is, I guess, another thing. Pay attention to numbers. Men lie, women lie, children lie, but numbers don't lie.
Flip that motherfucker right there.
Sean Brady could lie. Ariel can lie. My fucking mom could lie. But the numbers don't lie. They never lie.
Right. Drake got spots though. So.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I actually was watching one of Bisping's interviews. I don't know what happened, but people are commenting like, holy bots. I guess Bisping bought some bots.
You don't need to though.
He don't need to. I was like, why would this happen? I think he got hacked or something. I feel like wait, I had one other topic to say about this. Is that trying to think real quick. When you are trying to build your name, I was saying in the past something as far as like doing interviews and stuff.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is there a fighter that's on the rise that you think could have that breakout performance that you can say, you know what, I'm going to predict this fighter in 2025 is going to have one of those breakout years, like Carlos Prates, like Joaquin, like Charles Energy. Because last year we had hopes, but we didn't know where it really could go.
Can I give you almost an opposite answer?
Okay.
I feel like Energy has that potential, but he doesn't have the bravado, and he doesn't exactly have the know-how to grow his name. I see him trying, but I don't see it catching on. I feel like Energy could be a breakout fighter, but he lacks exactly what we're talking about, and he hasn't been able to find it.
You know, I think that it's one of those things where...
Because he could become champ, but I don't think people are going to be excited because he hasn't created a lot of excitement. I don't know what he can do.
I think he has a different aura to him. And I feel like everybody creates content differently, so he's still being true to himself, right?
And I think that just doesn't catch.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Because he's not funny like a Marab, you feel me? So you don't got that quirkiness. And like I said, that's extra points. You got that, that's like extra points.
He's more of like an anime type of guy.
Anime guy, he's like a serious guy.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't go too serious because I see him fuck around a lot too. I don't know. Let's see where he goes then.
Because when you're asking me like who could be a breakout fighter, I feel like Charles is one of those guys. I just feel like the marketing isn't there.
But I feel like he kind of did already kind of break out a little bit because he did get into the rankings. He did get in a 4-fight win streak.
He has the hardcores behind him.
So here's my question: who's the guy that's not ranked yet? Joaquin wasn't ranked last year at this time. Charles Energy Johnson wasn't ranked at this year last time. Carlos Prates wasn't ranked at this time. You know what I mean? I think Renato was.
I think the easiest one, honestly, the easiest one is going to be like a Peyton Talbot.
Okay, he's a rising star for sure. What about Bo Nickel?
Bo Nickel, bro, honestly, every time I try to listen to him, I have to turn it off. Bo, I don't know what it is about Bo. I guess we're just not the same type of guy. But he posted a clip with Chael. Get this. He posted a clip with Chael, and I was like, oh shit, Chael was a big, he was saying like critiquing Bo's performance against Paul Craig. And I was like, damn, that's sick. Bo is humble enough to have Chael on who critiqued his performance. I was like, all right, let me listen to this. And as soon as I listened to all of what Chael had to say, as soon as Bo opened his mouth, like 5 words in, I swiped off the video. Because he's so narcissistic. It's so, like, making everybody else look like the dummy and he's the genius. Bro, just, I can't, like...
He does have that little, like, I'm smarter than everybody else.
In the room, and it's like, dude, nobody really likes that, you know? So, I don't think he's going to break out, if I'm being dead honest.
What about Brian Battle? He has a little bit of everything we're talking about.
You know what? I really... And call me what you want to call me. I don't think I'm hating. I think maybe I'm being tough. But I'm off that train.
Are you?
Yeah, really? I am. Yeah, what he showed me, it was very unprofessional.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm not off the train yet because if he gets 2 more solid wins, he's going to be ranked. And we know he can get on the mic. Now, I go back to the social media stuff. He's not really doing the shit that like you're talking about.
He's like an Energy.
Maybe. Okay.
He's got a little buzz.
You got to create the skit. Like, let's just say this. Like, the Sean O'Malley's of the world knows how to create skits. Marab knows how to create skits.
But those are unicorns. Joaquin knows how to create skits. They're very rare.
But they shouldn't be.
Yeah,
because
I mean...
It's part of the game now.
You know what? If that was...
Even Chael knows that.
You know what? I think that's a great point.
Chael's always been an entertainer, though. I have to say. You know what? We should create a list. The top 5 guys that fucking are the best social media like skitter, UFC skit guys.
No, but that's a great point. I want to say is like, you know, obviously the skits isn't my avenue. It's not our avenue as media guys. You know, clearly the path so far is like putting content out about the fighters and the fights and the game, right?
Journalist side, yeah.
Right. And so you have to identify that and say, like, look, I can't do skits. Even if other people get famous off skits, this is my lane. And I think, yeah, to your point, fighters need to do a better job of realizing what their lane is and finding a way to execute. Like I'm keep saying, like, if you can identify something and you refuse to play on it, what does that make you? Mm-hmm. And you can't fault me when I criticize and say you don't got a name. You know what I mean? When you refuse to identify the fact that people make skits and you should maybe try to do that. But instead you're going to be like, that's not me. I'm just going to be real to myself. Okay, fine. You be real to yourself and don't count up that money. You know? While Joaquin and Marab are counting up those bucks, you know what I mean? From their little skits. As far as like the money that goes into people actually tuning into the fight.
Because you're building your fan base.
Right. And so if you can identify that, I believe you should do it. Not just because I was going to say, you know, some people can't do that. And it is a bit of a unicorn thing. I don't think everybody can do it, but I don't think enough people are doing it. Like, who's to say Peyton Talbot can't do it?
Yeah, you got to just add it to the equation.
Now, I do want to say about Brian Battle, though. Oh, we got a comment. This guy doesn't think that he wants to know about why I got so many subs and not enough views. We'll talk about that another time, brother. Brian Battle. As far as being unprofessional goes, yeah, I'm just not too into him at the moment. Because when you miss that weight...
Well, you don't like his unprofessionalism.
When you miss that weight, but not only that, the excuses that followed. Quick turnaround, I popped a rib, you know what I mean? Couldn't do it. I just don't really think when you come up against guys who are taking their career super seriously, like a Shavkat, like a Joaquin Buckley, like even an Ian Gary, you know, you're lacking that professionalism, and these guys don't skip a beat. So that's why I'm kind of off that train for now.
I mean, but I think that this whole conversation can change, and by the summertime, let's say he's rolling in with like, you know, 2 solid wins.
It can. But he showed us who he is a little bit there. That's my thing. Shavkat ain't never missed weight. Joaquin ain't never missed weight. Ian's never missed weight. You know, and on top of that, you miss weight, then you're going to come around and say it was a quick turnaround?
I would say that if it happens again, yeah. Yeah.
Come on now.
It's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah. And even that's one where it's like he gets propped up with Jackson. And I don't think it catches on the same because he doesn't have a buzz behind him. Does that make sense to you? Like Battle, right? He had that one interview. Then the Jackson podcast tries to capitalize off of that one interview. Right. They try to capitalize off that one moment and have him on and prop him up because they think he's going to be this star.
The one after France.
Right. But the thing is Battle doesn't have that bravado that like a Joaquin has following big moments. You know, he just created one big moment.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to stand on that one. By the end of 2025, we'll see where it's at. But right. I'm just trying to use that as a point. Like, what I'm basically... Okay, last thing I'll say about this. Why did I create this podcast? Let me give you another answer other than maybe what I've said as far as, like, just fucking with you, right? After meeting you. I started this podcast because I realized by growing my name, it also helps the fighters. And I don't really have a way of growing my name by just interviewing fighters. So when I'm not interviewing fighters, this could be a way for fans to get familiarized with me, get to know me. And then when I pop up on the fighters, they're more willing to listen because maybe they heard a conversation you and I had. Right? So I thought by increasing my numbers, it also increases my numbers when I do interviews with fighters. And I think that's what fighters are lacking. I think fighters aren't paying enough attention as far as building their numbers, as far as that directly correlates to how much money the UFC makes off of them. You know what I mean? Like the more you can serve yourself, the more that it benefits you within the UFC. You know what I mean? And so they need to realize that. That's why I'm saying Brian Battle, he had a good moment and stuff like that, but you need to do more of really growing your brand because your brand is what carries over into these other things. Just because somebody else has a big name and you don't have a big name doesn't mean you're going to get a big name. You have to be buzzing and then you go on to something big and then it pops off. But if you're not buzzing and you go on to something big, That's why I created this, simply put, to create a little bit of a buzz, right? And then that way my interviews can pop off more.
When you're building your brand too, yeah.
Right, it's building the brand. Fighters don't build their brands enough. They just train. They just fight.
And you're adding a layer to your channel.
You want me to list every person on this card that doesn't build their fucking name? Because we can't talk about any of them.
I mean, you would know 90% of who they are.
Right. And that's the point, right? You got a Chris Curtis, you know, Roman Kopylov, Abdul Razak. They're all foreigners on this card, so I'll give them some slack. But anything else you want to conclude on that one before we move on to the look ahead?
No.
I'm gonna put it like this too. I'm disappointed in some of these guys, you know? Like, you see what the game for what it is.
We're starting the new year.
Yeah, we're starting off the new year hot. You see the game for what it is. You refuse to play it. So don't get mad at me.
He's like, I'm just the messenger, homie.
Yeah, I'm just the messenger, okay? My job is to pay attention to numbers. It might behoove you to kind of listen to my perspective a little bit.
Your message.
All I do is look at numbers all day, you know? Okay. UFC 311.
Oh, I was gonna tell you, I decided I'm not gonna go.
Oh, really? You're over it?
Dude, well, there was a couple.
Bro, it's like $800.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bro, I was for the nosebleeds.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It was crazy, dog. I was like, what?
I might hit up SD Dumas and pop out for an interview.
I was like, wow, bro. Like, fuck. I'll just save them. I'll watch
Yeah.
them.
I'm not going to go attend.
I really wanted to go, though.
Yeah. I'm not too big of an LA guy.
I mean, LA's another beast, right? And you know what? We should have started off this show, too. Is like, hey.
The fires?
Oh, dude. Bro, fuck, man. My heart goes out prayers, and thoughts and prayers go out to all the families out there going through that. That's some crazy shit.
Shout out to them. Hopefully, you know, people are all right.
Do we want to really get into 311 or wait for that for next week?
Maybe like
touch it. I mean, the card's sick.
Top two fights, the main and co-main. But wait, we were just talking. What were we just saying though? We were saying something.
Oh, the Henry Cejudo in.
No, before the fires, did we say something? You forgot. All right, go on.
I was talking about the prices. I'm not going.
I just wanted to put this one out there. I'm more inclined to go to the events in Anaheim. Like, if this event was in Anaheim and I wasn't going, I'd be kind of bummed. But I was even saying, like, I'm considering I'm going to text Cedricus Dumas and see if he wants me to come out for an interview. But if he says yes, I'm like, fuck, he's staying in LA. Like, I don't even know if I want to go for that interview in LA. Like, that's how much I don't like LA.
I mean, sometimes you got to bite the bullet, though, right?
Yeah, but it's such a shitty town, dude.
I mean, I like LA, but I mean, I don't like it enough to live there.
Like, the danger factor is crazy.
I mean, that's anywhere though, bro.
Not where I'm spoiled, like I said. You know, Laguna Beach, OC. This is like the prime real estate.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
As far as safety goes and shit like that, like, there's not too much drugs and like homeless out here at all. UFC 311. Start with the co-main.
Co-main Merab versus Umar Nurmagomedov. You know, that's an interesting. Umar's still undefeated, right?
Umar's undefeated. I think Merab has one loss in the UFC, his debut.
It's gonna be a ground battle, right?
You know, I watched an interview with Merab, and he said he doesn't really want to take him down. He's just going to strike with him.
But is Merab really known to be a striker, though?
Not really.
No?
No.
And
Umar is known to be a striker.
But isn't he more elite on the ground?
To be honest with you, I think he's more of a striker.
Umar is.
Umar. I think he's a little bit
but
more.
He's still like a very high class fucking.
Yeah, but I almost want to say like his first base.
From Habib, right?
Yeah, but I almost want to say his first base was more striking.
Really?
But obviously he learned wrestling like simultaneously. But I want to say his first movements, if you will, were striking.
Yeah, I say Umar defeats Merab. I even say he submits him, and Umar fights Sean. Sean gets the belt back.
Ooh. So here's what I think. I got a gut feeling that Umar is going to beat Merab, unfortunately. But I'll say this. I kind of want Merab to win. I like Merab. I think, he's a good champion. I think he puts on good fights and he's kind of fun, especially for the American audience. I think, Islam and stuff, and we've kind of seen it, right? They don't really cross over to the American audience super crazy. They do, but...
Right.
I mean, there's a Muslim American audience. You feel me? Yeah. There's a lot of Muslims in America. So obviously, the numbers are going to say American, but there are a lot of Muslims. I think for me, I'm not Muslim. I'm just like, American guy, not really too religious. Christian guy, I guess you could say. But my point is like, I don't really connect with Islam. So Merab, he's kind of chill. Like, he just pushes life. You know what I mean? Like, he does his thing. He's funny. Like, I think Islam and stuff and Umar, their whole, like, principles come with them. And sometimes it's not too fun to have him as a champion.
Yeah.
Like, they refuse to trash talk kind of things to some degree.
Yeah, I've never put that into perspective, I guess. I just want to see a good fight.
Yeah.
So, Susie, the back studio is opening. I'll be there like in 5 minutes.
All right. Did you see the guy? Apparently, Merab housed a guy. And housed a guy from Dagestan.
What do you mean housed?
Like, let him live in his house for free.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and basically there's videos of them like kicking it. Not kicking it, like he cornered Merab for his last fight pretty much. Like there's videos of them backstage during the weight cut and everything like that, signing posters. And now this guy is helping Umar prepare for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think some people are saying like he's got loyalty to both, so it's not that big of a deal. But bro should have just sat that one out. Like if you got loyalty to both, dude, what the fuck you picking sides for?
Sit that one out. Yeah.
Sit that one out. Don't help Merab. Don't help Umar.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So that one's a little bit fucked. Islam and
Armin.
Yeah,
I mean, I got Islam all day. I went back and watched that Charles Oliveira fight. Armin didn't dominate Charles Oliveira. He had a couple moments.
Yeah, it's a close fight, right? It went to the third round as far as like the winner of the third round won the fight.
Well, dude, Charles almost submitted him with that Darth at the last 10 seconds of the fucking round.
I remember there was a point in that fight where Arman was looking extremely like tired and he just wasn't looking good. He looked ugly, I think, in the middle of it.
He won the second round because then he took Charles down in the second round and kind of like was like forcing as well on the ground. But he didn't dominate Charles Oliveira, that's for sure.
No, wasn't there a decent part of the fight where Charles was like kind of like taken over for like a hot minute?
Well, he almost submitted him in the first round. Charles almost submitted Armin in the first round, and Armin got out of it. And then he flipped it on him, and then he got on top of Charles to end the first round, I believe. The second round, he was pretty much on top of Charles, and then the third round, he kind of got on top of him, but then Charles at the end had a Darth.
Right, and wasn't Arman just like flat on his stomach?
He was, because he like had him out.
I remember that was like looking kind of ugly.
And for whatever reason, I was like now going back into it. Okay. The back studio is open. All right.
Tell her we're on the last topic.
Okay, give me like 5 minutes. But yeah, I went back and watched, and I was more thinking like, because I see a lot of people propping Armin up. If he had dominated that fight, I would have a little bit more like, you know what, maybe Armin does have a little chance here. You know what I mean? Like maybe he can kind of do this damn thing. Nah, I don't think so, bro. Islam's on a different level.
No, that's a solid comparison. I think I have to pretty much disagree with that. I mean, I don't think there's much else to go off of because you saw what Islam did to Charles, right? You saw what Arman did to Charles. Two completely different stories. And you've seen Islam and Arman. So, secret move, no secret move. I think I'm going to have to go with Islam. Whether fucking Arman hits his secret fucking move or not.
Yeah, it would be interesting because it'd be interesting to see if Islam does win this and decides, hey, I want to move up to the welterweight. That would make.
Well, I was going to kind of say as like a little kind of way to end this and a teaser into what's going to happen after those fights take place, what we will talk about is like, you know, I've been thinking about that. There's like a triangle around there. There's like, you know, Bilal, Islam, right? And then there's whoever Bilal fights, should they fight Islam if Bilal loses? You know what I mean? So now, right, you got names like if Joaquin were to become champ at 2025, does he now have a fight with Islam? If Shavkat becomes champ at 2025, does he fight Islam? Because they also trained together in the past. So there's a question there. Then you got Bilal and Islam. You know, they're friends. Are they going to fight? So there's all these different narratives with those 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah. No, it's
So we'll see. If Islam wins, I mean, definitely that super fight is probably on the horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Get together next week. Show 14 in the books.
And we'll break down the card next week then.
Yeah.
This is a good card.
Next week, right?